the signs that you should look for when that bug bites? And of course, there are some disadvantages. Now, to delve into those aspects, we're joined by Michelle Snyman. She's a finance branch manager at Network Recruitment. Michelle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
When you look at people who move careers, how do you know when you're getting bored with something? Like, how difficult is it to move from, say, if you're a trained lawyer by profession and now you want to go into PR?
Well, I think making a career change as drastic as that is quite difficult. The company I work for, we deal mostly with professional individuals, so accountants, engineers, developers, things like that. And it's very difficult, even if you're an accountant and you want to move from a bank to a manufacturing company, it's very difficult because clients do hire for experience.
I would assume that additional training would be needed, like some sort of qualification, even though you're a qualified engineer and you're good with numbers, so you could go into accounting, but you do need that background.
Yes, you would probably have to do a degree, and then also you had to start from the bottom of your career and work yourself up again into that more senior role, which you're probably in now.
In terms of careers, we get a lot of people who want to try something new. Do you advise that?
No, I wouldn't advise that. I would say if you are young, the decisions that you make are actually quite crucial for your career going forward. So if you have finished university, maybe decide on a path that you want to take and become a specialist, because those sorts of skills are always hot property in the market. Clients do hire for people that are in demand.
And, you know, one of the issues is coming into the job market. So when you look at somebody's CV, what are the top things that you're looking out for?
Well, I think especially their qualification. Have you completed your degree or diploma, or, you know, it depends what industry you're in. And then how many years experience do you have? Especially from an agency environment, clients do come to us because they're looking for an experienced person. If you don't have any experience, it's quite difficult for us to actually find you new employment. But a stable track record at a good company, you know, good references, those are the things that we look at.
I've heard the argument that sometimes when you're doing a qualification and maybe you still have your last year and perhaps you were doing it part-time, so you've been working most of the time and you've got this extensive experience, you just have this maybe the last year or the second last year to complete. Does that still count towards your favor if the experience is extensive, like you've been working and studying at the same time?
I think it depends what role you go into. Experience definitely counts a lot in the job market. In certain senior roles, though, it doesn't matter what type of experience you have because you need a certain qualification to be in that role. Companies would not necessarily appoint a CFO who's not a chartered accountant because they obviously need to adhere to certain regulations. But there are clients who would still say, look, we don't mind the qualification, we just want someone that can actually do the job.
And having looked at so many CVs in your career, what are the top mistakes that are always there in CVs that people should be aware of?
Well, a lot of people actually make spelling mistakes on their CV, so I think that's a very important point, is to make sure that your grammar and everything like that is okay, that everyone can read it. And then also the format of your CV. It must be easily readable. I know a lot of people out there get important point is to make sure that your grammar and everything like that is okay, that everyone can read it. And then also the format of your CV. It must be easily readable. I know a lot of people out there get advised that they won't need a one-page CV, but most of the clients out there want to see what you've done. They want to see your achievements and things like that. So if your CV is too short, then you're also not marketing yourself proper in the market.
And when you send through your CV to a recruitment agency, generally, do you just send it through? Do you make an appointment to give it in? How does that work?
Most of the time, most people apply via a job portal or a website or maybe social media with an electronic CV. Rarely people just walk in anymore and hand in their CVs. And then also, it's good to have a personal relationship with a recruiter, someone who's really looking after your career, especially a specialist recruiter. That person is in the industry, they know exactly what's happening in the market, they already have clients that deal with them, so that's a better way for you to get into a specific role.
We always talk about how difficult it is to get into the market, especially when you're qualified. Do you get the reverse, where clients, it's difficult for clients to find the exact criteria they're looking for? Does that ever happen?
Well, I think that's why recruitment agencies exist, because clients are not able to find that on their own.
Yeah.
So we interview all the rare skills in the market, so we have them. So, but there are some times where a client has a certain requirement, and sometimes that requirement doesn't exist, or that person doesn't exist. So they have to compromise on certain of the requirements. But that's why you pay recruitment agencies to find that rare skill for you.
And I can imagine that nerves always kick in when you have to go in for an interview, and generally starts off at the recruitment agency first.
Yes.
Tips in terms of not being nervous, not overthinking the answers and the questions, etc.?
I think preparation is key for any interview. You need to make sure that you know exactly where the client is, you know, you arrive on time, you know you're going to meet with, and you do your preparation beforehand. You need to go and research the company, who you're going to meet with, maybe look them up on LinkedIn, prepare some questions you want to ask them, you know, maybe run through a couple of HR questions that you might get, and I would advise people to role play it with someone, so that when you are actually sitting there in front of the person who's interviewing you, that you actually have a prepared answer, and you don't have to, it doesn't take you 5 minutes to think of the answer.
When is the right time to bring up the amount you're going to get paid, the salary? Towards the end of the interview, do you get to ask?
Well, I would advise people to not maybe bring it up in the first interview.
Yeah.
The first interview is between you and the client to assess the opportunity and if you can actually do the job. If you do have a recruiter, it's always best for them to negotiate on behalf of you.
Yeah.
Because it takes that emotion kind of away, and that awkward situation that you're not sure what you should say, what not to say. But if clients are pressuring you for amount, it usually comes at the end. And I would advise potential career seekers to always stick within a range and not put a number on your head at the end of the day.
Well, definitely some interesting key points coming in there from Michelle Snyman, of course.